started shortly.
Then the meeting has been called to order. This is Jackie Carrol, Chair. We will move right into our first matter of business tonight, which is to approve our meeting minutes from both July and August. So if anybody has any corrections or comments on that, I will take that now. Otherwise, I will take a motion to approve those.
So moved. This is Kay.
This is Michael, second.
And a second from Michael to approve the minutes from July and August. I am going to check in with each one of you for an aye or a nay. Deb? Okay. Jasmin, do we need audio for these votes?
I don't think so. If you give a hand signal that is affirmative, that should work.
Okay, great. Michael? Thank you. Kay? Thank you. Let's see. Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. Morgan? Thank you. Makokwa?
Yes.
Great. I think that's everybody. That's an aye from me. So we've got a unanimous pass of that motion. Thank you, everybody. We will go on to our second item for tonight, which is some SAB administration information. Jasmin will talk to you all a little bit about leadership opportunities for the board for next year. Jasmin, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And I also just wanted to talk about the meeting culture on Zoom. I forgot to put that on the agenda, but just as a reminder, this meeting's being recorded and broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and public access channel 25. During the meeting, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found on the lower left side of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. And when you're muted, you'll see a red line appear over that icon. Muting your microphone will make it easier for everyone to hear, and you'll have to remember to unmute yourself if and when you would like to speak. I may mute or unmute you as needed. Just bringing a few more people in. In some cases, there might be some background sound that might make it difficult for others to hear. So if you're not talking, if you would just be conscious to mute yourself. And please remember that each time you speak, to state your name for the benefit of those listening remotely. Also on this point, at the last meeting, there was some questions about having subtitles and captions on meetings. I wanted to let you know that the video does have captions on it. It's just not live captions. So as soon as this is over, then those captions are automatically generated. So anybody can go back and look at the last few recordings of these meetings, and you will be able to see captions.
Thank you for that, Jasmin.
Yeah, thank you. In the menu, you can also turn your camera on or off by clicking the video icon. For the purposes of this public meeting, please keep your video on during the meeting if possible. If you're participating by phone, you can press *6 to mute or unmute yourself. And let's see. For those that are using Zoom, somewhere on your screen you'll see a choice to toggle between speaker and gallery view. Speaker view shows just the active speaker, and the gallery view tiles all the meeting participants so you can see everyone at the same time. All motions will need to be stated clearly, and after a motion is made and seconded, the chair will call on the board members individually, which Jackie just did as an example for those minutes to provide their vote. And the other thing that there was one other thing that I intended to make a note for myself, but I did not, so I will move on to the SAB leadership opportunities unless there are questions about any Zoom meeting procedures. Okay, great. I just wanted to note we do have some folks that are presenting today, and we have 2 people that have signed up for public comment for 1 or more items during today's meeting. So I will make sure to facilitate that when the time comes. So as far as leadership opportunities within SAB, there are 2 positions that you all self-elect, the chair and the vice chair, and those can change on an annual basis. You will have elections in January of 2021. The duties of the chair are to preside at the board meetings and represent the board as necessary at all city meetings. So, for example, if a policy goes in front of the city commission that has come out of this body, then it would be the responsibility of the chair to represent SAB in that interaction. And then the second position is vice chair, and the vice chair shall preside at board meetings in the absence of the chair and shall represent the board in the absence of the chair as necessary at all city meetings. So wanted to bring that up because it's time to start thinking about those leadership opportunities, and if you would like to be in one of those positions for 2021. So if you have questions about what that means, or there's other, responsibilities associated with that, please reach out to me and as staff, and I can talk you through historically what that's looked like as chair and anything moving forward that you have questions about. Chair, I did have a couple other items that I wanted to bring up that came up to my attention yesterday after the meeting agenda was finalized that fall into this section. And one of those is there is another board called the Public Incentives Review Committee, and it is actually a board that, let me just pull up the description. It has a relationship with the Sustainability Advisory Board because you all, as the Sustainability Advisory Board, get to make recommendations for one spot on this Public Incentives Review Committee. So the Public Incentives Review Committee reviews economic development incentive requests and makes recommendations to the City Commission and other governing bodies as appropriate. So it reviews the annual budget requests for the City of Lawrence and Douglas County for economic development related agencies and makes recommendations on those requests. This is a group that meets, it looks like quarterly. There's, as I said, there's one position on this board that comes at the recommendation of the Sustainability Advisory Board. The way the process goes is that the Sustainability Advisory Board puts forth 3 names to the mayor and the city commission, and then the mayor and city commission determine which of those 3 names they will appoint to that board. So this is, we haven't had to do this for a while, but somebody's term is up at the end of this year. And so it will be the responsibility of this board to come up with those 3 names, and then it can be at the next meeting or the December meeting where you vote on recommending those 3 names to the mayor and the city commission. So I wanted to pause there and see if there are questions about that. Again, this is new since I've been staff to this position. So are there any questions about that?
I guess I have one question. It must have been some time since the board has done this, because it's happened maybe once at the most the entire time I've been on the board. Is this something where we recommend names and these are people that we've checked in ahead of time with, and we all come with, a person or 2 that we're recommending?
So I think one of the challenges is that the process for appointments to boards has shifted in between the last person that this board recommended for this and today. So the advice that I got was to have you all think about who would be good for representing the interests of the Sustainability Advisory Board in that second board, and then come to a consensus about 3 people that would be good candidates for that, and then encourage them to go through the formal process of applying for the board through the city's fairly recent process of streamlining that on the website. And then through that process, the mayor and city commission would consider those applicants.
Whose terms are up this year? Sorry.
So for that group, let me just pull up, I think it is Aaron Cromwell, who was the previous person who was designated by this group. Yeah, so Aaron Cromwell, his term is up at the end of this year.
Are they able to have multiple terms? If the board wanted to recommend Aaron again, is that an option?
He's not interested in serving again, so this group does need to put forth some new names. Just like all the other boards, the minutes and description of the function of that board are on the website, and I can send you that direct link if that would be helpful, just so that you get a sense of the duties of that group, and then think about, again, I think the reason why the Sustainability Advisory Board is involved is because this was one way to ensure that sustainability was being integrated into those conversations around economic development.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. I do think it would be helpful to send that information out to everybody so we can read up on it, and it would serve as a good reminder to educate ourselves on that and be prepared for the next meeting.
So I will send out that information and ask you all to think about, it doesn't have to be someone from the board, just for clarification. It can be anybody from the community. So you all can think about that. And then the other thing related to SAB leadership is that there's always the SAB subcommittees, and leadership is needed to move forward the policy priorities that you all have identified. And so I want to challenge you all to think about what you're passionate about and where you want to direct your energy, knowing that you are volunteers and you are already spread thin. So think about what is the best use of your energy and time in serving this board. So as you think about next year, think about how you best want to contribute to this board, and whether that be a chair of a subcommittee or an active member of a subcommittee. And also, if you are no longer interested in serving on this board, this is also an opportunity to make that known, and you can just let me know so that we can make sure to get a replacement in a timely fashion, so that there's no there's less gaps in membership. So that's what I had for SAB leadership opportunities.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to leave it open for just a sec in case there are any additional questions from board members. Okay, then. I see Reed with us. I'm not sure if Clark is with us or not, Reed, but I'm going to transition the presentation over to Reed for a discussion on our city's our city's bus fleet and transitioning to electric buses and potentially the opportunity for making some of those solar buses. So Reed, I will hand it over to you now.
Okay, thank you. Can people hear me? You nod up and down,
Yes.
yeah? Okay. I'm not a big Zoom person. I'm out in my back porch, and Clark Cohen is with me, so we're kind of joint presenters, but he's sitting across opposite the screen and porch from me. So what we want to present to you is an idea that we have, and in the end, we'd like your input, frankly, just your thoughts about it, where we might go with this, and if there's something that you feel like you want to do as a board with this in terms of the city, recommending something to the city commissioners, for example. So we found out that the city was going to purchase 5 electric buses, and they will get those, I think, in about a year and a half, is what our understanding is. For us, that sounded like it could be an opportunity to get those charged photovoltaically. And we got kind of interested in that idea. What would it take for Lawrence to have a very small solar field to charge those buses? That's kind of where we started. Now, keep in mind, in my view, a solar array that's in a field could do other things beyond charge buses. And so this could be a model for other things, for either additional things or things instead of buses. And, we recognize that. But this is how we got interested in it. So the 5 buses, and we called the transportation person who's in charge of those, and he said they're made by Gitlig. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I think Jackie sent you all our one of the documents. And I can try to put that here up on Zoom, although I'm not. Who knows what will happen. Let me try this and see if you see it. Is that seen by you all? That document?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Because I can't tell. All right, great. So this document was put together by the solar company, Good Energy Solutions, which is on 23rd Street. That was put together by them after they met with us and prepared for Adam Weigel at that time. And now here's the key to this document. Good Energy Solutions, what would it take in terms of cost, or is it feasible to put up a solar array in a field for these buses? And we assumed that the buses, I think we assumed 440 kilowatts of energy is what they can hold, each one. They can go 150 miles on that. And these are just basic back of the napkin assumptions that we started with, that would be a charge to allow them to do their routes for the day. So, and here's what they came up with. They said the net investment for that would be $158,000 from the city, and the savings over 30 years would be $273,000. So to me, that claim to understand these things. And I have to tell all of you that Clark and I are not professionals in this. I'm a lawyer in Topeka, something else entirely, and Clark, we're both very interested, but neither one of us is a professional here. So we're relying on the pros. So they make assumptions, utility escalation rate, for example, 3.5%. I don't know what that is. That's probably an assumption that they make about how much utility rates may go up. I'm not sure, but we went to this Good Energy Solutions because they're the ones who built a solar farm for Baldwin City. And so we knew that they had some experience with this. And by the way, I talked to the Baldwin City, one of the power plant people today, and asked him about that solar array, which is much bigger than what we're talking about here. And he was very happy with Good Energy Solutions. Now that net investment of $158,000, I'm not positive, but I think that in addition to that, there is a tax credit that the city can get. This year it's 30%. The power plant person in Baldwin City told me if we signed off on a deal this year, for example, he said we would get that 30% tax credit. I don't expect that to happen, but next year it goes down to 26%, and I think that's the one that we're shooting for. So that would be a 26% tax credit. I think that, in my view, that would probably come off that net investment. So to me, it could cost, if you consider the tax credit, it could cost Lawrence City $117,000, if I did my calculations right. So those are some assumptions we're relying on. It's obviously got a little complexity to it, that we can talk about, but these are some just basic assumptions. The solar array that this proposal is talking about that they would build would provide 70% of the energy. So what happens is that the buses are charged, the solar array is feeding power into the grid during the day, and that goes to Evergy, that's on the grid. And now this is, as I understand it, this is net metering. And this takes up the full limit of our, I think that it takes up a limit of our net metering, which is why this will produce then 70% of the energy needed. And the buses at night will get charged at this facility. And what they don't get from what we were putting in to the grid, we buy from Evergy. It's at an evening rate, which as I understand it is a pretty good rate. Now we would get that anyway, right? So even if we didn't do the solar array, we're getting our energy from Evergy, and I assume we're going to get that evening rate, to charge the buses, no matter what. So, we would propose, all this would take is a third of, we calculated, just again, back of the napkin stuff, we think it'll be a third of an acre, which is not a lot of land. The new bus facility, we understand, is going to go in at 1260 Timberline Road, and that has 13 acres. I think it's owned by KU. We think that would be a great place to use a third of an acre to put up a solar array. So in any event, so we talked to Adam Weigel, the Lawrence Transit person, and he's the one who gave us the information on the buses. I'm not sure how involved that he wants to be with this project. Sounds like he's got plenty on his plate, but he was interested. And I think he told Clark that it sounded promising. So that's good. And that report was, this report you have, it was prepared by Andy Reardon, is his name. Very easy to talk with and very accessible. He couldn't make it tonight. But he's leaving in a week for Exciting Pastures. He's gonna be involved in 100 megawatt power plant, solar, I think, fascinating. But the person I think who's his manager would be able to be involved with this proposal, and his name is Mike Schumann. I don't know how you spell that. I assume Shoeman. Anyway, so that's Good Energy Solutions. So, how am I on time? What, is there something I'm missing, Clark?
No, I guess their input and possible endorsement.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I find, you know, when I talk to the power plant manager in Baldwin City, you know, he felt like the difference is they don't own theirs. That's owned by Evergy. Ours would be a little bit different. And so as owner, Evergy takes care of problems with its plant. He said they had a few problems with an inverter that Evergy takes care of. And so as owner, Lawrence would have some of these things to keep track of and be responsible for. Although inverters have warranties, solar panels have long warranties, somebody would have to keep up that third of an acre. It would have to be mowed and taken care of. So in any event, I find it very interesting. And it may be, you know, it may be a model, you know, it could be a starting model to get into something like this that could lead to something bigger scale down the road. The power plant guy, again, in Baldwin City, he likes it. He thinks that they're working well. He said for them, it's a hedge on energy prices in the future. I'm not sure that he thought it was, quote, a great deal for them. But he said the green part of their community really likes it. It works well on their grid, and it hedges energy in the future, volatility. So that's where I'm at right now. We are interested in your input.
I have a question. This is Mako Kwan. Have y'all incorporated any sort of like educational outreach portion of this to make it, you know, talk about it being a model? It could be a model, but it would be something that we could, you know, involve the educational curriculum in, that maybe classrooms can take tours of, or situate it in a position to where people can easily access it and have information provided there for that. I'm just thinking of as a way of utilizing that space more than just, you know, energy storage, but, you know, use that as an opportunity to teach our community about it.
Right. Yeah, and it's a good idea. That is, I mean, that's going to be the bus hub, as I understand it. That's the location where the buses are going to be. And yeah, I mean, the public is going to be around there, I suppose. So.
No, the two different ones. There's Port Overnight.
Oh.
And then there's a new one that's going to be a 15th.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong about that. So Clark tells me that this Timberline address is where the buses will be stored at night. This is not actually the bus terminal. Okay. So.
Sorry, quick question. Could you repeat that address again?
Yeah. I think it was 1260 Timberline Road.
Thank you.
Timber Ridge? Clark says Timber Ridge. 1260 Timber Ridge Road.
By the power plant.
It's by the power plant, by Jeffrey Energy
No,
Center.
no, by our power plant. Or, yeah.
Okay. I thought that was Jeffrey. All right. Okay.
Reed, I have a couple.
I had a,
Oh, go ahead, Deb.
this is Deb Ford. I had a couple of things and then I'll hand it back to Jackie, but I might have missed it and I apologize. Did you say what the payback was in years? Was it 5 or
30. I think
30 years payback?
That's their, on page 2 of their proposal, they have a 30-year electric bill savings of $273,000.
Okay. And then the panels are warranted for 15?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Mine, I know I bought some many years ago that were warranted for 20.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there are very long warranties for these.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to know the warranty and if it happened before payback or if it's after payback. And then the land, it's assumed that they own the land and they can afford to give up 1/3 of an acre. And do we know that they can give up 1/3 of an acre?
Have you asked, Clark? Okay, we haven't asked. We haven't asked, and we haven't. Have you heard from KU at all? Okay, we don't have information on KU's position on it. We'd have to ask. It does not have to be at this location. Okay, it does not have to be near the buses. I think that we thought that would be a nice thing. I don't know why we thought that, but we did. But it, you know, as far as we know, it only needs 1/3 of an acre somewhere. It's owned by the city.
And then, yeah, if it's owned by the city and if it's free and available, and then the 1/3 of the acre and what you determine charges 5 electric buses, and it doesn't have capacity for more, it would just take care of the 5 new buses.
That would be the 5 new buses. That's right.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, and you know, as I say, I sort of see it partly as a model. I was reading about these buses. This was a federal grant, I guess, that I think a lot of cities have taken advantage of. Kansas City has some. I read today about Wichita. They have a quote in there from, I don't know, their city manager. Somebody said that they do not want to buy any more diesel buses. I think they want to go electric buses from here on out. So, point being, I guess this could be a start. It could be seen as a start.
Okay, I saw Kay had a question too. Go ahead, Kay.
Yes, hi, Kay Johnson, and I just, I'm very familiar with the Mays High School solar array in just north and west of Wichita, and the way they worked with their benefactor, because Mays High School is a public schools, part of the public school system, they can't take advantage of the tax credits. And I'm wondering if Lawrence isn't the same way. Somebody else takes the advantage of the tax credits and funds the benefit. And I sent Jackie and the board a link and a picture of the Mays solar array just a minute ago via email. And So somebody bought their whole system and took advantage of the credits and then basically leases it back to them. They're able to use that as a teaching tool, and they have lots of classes out under the solar array. The solar array actually is on the ground, and so that they have access to it. But I'm wondering how that would work with the municipality not paying taxes. I mean, do you know the ins and outs of this? Good Energy is an excellent company. I am wondering if, also another question is if, because of the way that programs go with municipalities, would this need to go to bid? It seems like it would, but the project overall concept, I think, is an excellent idea.
Yeah, it would, and I'm repeating things that other people have told me because this is my area. So it was mentioned today on the phone when I talked to Good Energy that this would need to go to bid. And on the tax credit question, the power plant manager in Baldwin City, I don't know. He seemed to think that we could get that tax credit of 26%, which he thought that was very, very important. And it phases lower. He told me the 3 phases. The year after next year, it goes down again to like 20% maybe. And then it's gone after that. So there's 2 things about this that are kind of good financially right now. One is the net metering is a big deal. That we get this net metering. And I guess we're right at the limit. Again, I think that's why they're only going to 70% is because that's kind of our net metering limit for some reason.
The state has a limit on what amount of kilowatt, hours you can provide in solar array. And that's probably what they're talking about.
That's it. So they're taking advantage of that net metering, and we might get the advantage of this tax credit for another year, and then it goes down, and then it's gone. And now who knows what another federal administration will do?
Somebody else would have to get the credit because the city doesn't pay the tax.
Okay. All right.
So there'd have to be some arrangement with a third party.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see the last page 7 of this is where Good Energy talks about that credit. They say the federal government allows businesses who invest in a solar electric energy system to take a tax credit worth 26% of the cost. In other words, your net investment may only be 74% of the total cost of the system. So that is kind of vague to me. I guess I don't understand. He first talks about business, but then he indicates that our net investment might be lower. So that would have to be ironed out. And clearly,
we're able, my company invested in a solar array, and we were able to take the tax credit. But like with the Mays High School, because they're a public entity, they don't pay taxes. And but it's what Mays did was they actually went to a local business, and the business bought the solar array, and they get the credits and then leases it back. And it's considered, what they did in Mays is considered one of the models. It's a real good model for that.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, my feeling is that as soon as this gets beyond me and Clark, as soon as this gets to the point where either you're interested in being involved or the city, let's say the city commission is interested, then it's going to have to immediately go to somebody who is a professional in these matters, in accounting, in city finance, and to look at this proposal and kind of get it accurate and see, just exactly the nuts and bolts of how all this matches up.
This might be a public works or whatever the new entity is called. I can't remember what the municipal services group is called.
Yeah.
But Jasmin might know that.
Yeah, it is municipal services operations. I would say as staff, this is something that if there is interest from the public in us exploring what this might look like for the new transit hub, or fueling those new facilities, that as we go through that process, that we can do some cost benefit analysis and comprehensive analysis of an opportunity like this.
What do you all recommend that, do you have ideas on where we ought to go with this proposal? Is this something that you could see that maybe we should present to the city commissioners and see if there's if they have an interest in having the city look into this further, or setting this on an agenda down the road with this board?
This is Jackie Carrol, Chair. I'm going to jump in and weigh in a little bit, if that's all right, Reed.
Yeah.
I think what I'm seeing at this point is a little bit of, the information maybe needs to be a little bit more firm for some of the members of the board to feel comfortable in backing it. I could be wrong about that. I think this is an excellent idea to pursue right now, regardless of the information that we have, to be honest, because once we have better information, we'll be able to make a decision. And I don't know why we would shut down the potential of, solar buses on our fleet at this point. So I would like to kind of get a feel from the board on whether, we're interested in, recommending at this point that staff take this on to, dig in a little deeper and pull those pieces of information together in order to understand the financial outlook a little better, or, whether, I'm not sure if we can ask it, but Reed, whether you're able to get a better idea from Good Energy Solutions for us on, whether things like the incentive is a reality for us, not from the tax portion, but from Collective Sun, considering that the city isn't a nonprofit, whether the tax credit is something feasible, things like, the electricity escalation rate, how that would weigh in when the city has signed on to a wind deal with Evergy, and our rates should be relatively flat for a while. Things like that. So I guess at this point, let's ask the board. I want to hear if you all are interested in continuing to pursue this, or asking members of the community and staff to continue pursuing this to get additional information.
Well, I'm interested. I think it's a really an interesting proposal. I think the fleshing out the numbers and finding out if the municipal services group would be interested in championing it, it seems like that would be the place it would fit. But I'm interested definitely to find out more about it.
Okay, thanks, Kay. Anybody else? I mean, I'll reiterate that I think it's worth pursuing at this point, but I want to hear from more.
Yeah, I think it's a super good idea. I also just want to throw in there really quick, going back to what Makokwa said about the educational value. I think that could be really cool to especially since I think we were talking about KU land. I think working with not only the university, but also like Haskell and Lawrence Public Schools and other schools in town to utilize the educational value of it in terms of like educating on sustainability. I think that would be cool.
Okay, we've got a few.
I think it's
Go ahead, Deb.
I think it's a great idea, but I agree with Jackie and that it needs fleshed out a little bit more to be able to support it. So if you can answer some of those questions, and it might be interesting to see what a grant of possibilities would be as well, because that might help push it over the edge.
I think it's a great idea. I would ask Jasmin, do you think is there a commission role in this? Is there some advice? Assuming we get more information next month, is there some advice that we need to give the commission to help spur this on, or how do they fit into this?
So I would say that at this point, if you all feel like this is something that you would like to direct staff to do some more research on, then you all can do that today, and then I can take that direction and work more closely with transit to see what they're thinking, and then we can provide some information back to this board if you like. From my point of view, this isn't something that needs to go to the city commission. At this point, it needs more research, and it's in reference to a facility that it would be, thinking about how it would fit into capital improvements plan and those types of things. So I see this as a opportunity to direct staff to do some additional research on this. So I'll stop there. Jackie, we can't hear you. No, we still can't hear you. Nope. Oh, try now.
Okay, can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm not sure why that changed. What was I going to ask? Oh, that wouldn't require a motion, right, Jasmin? That's really items that would need to go on to the commission that require a motion?
Right, so yeah, if there's general consensus, then you don't have to vote on it.
Okay, well, it sounds like we've got 5 people so far who are interested in continuing to pursue this idea, with the caveat that we obviously need more information to understand whether we can do an official recommendation of any capacity.
And that would include an education portion of it, I think could be important. If that could be also part of that.
Okay, well, I will work with staff to look at this more closely, and we can bring you back some findings from our research as well.
I could also, if anybody's interested, Stan Burkamp is the actually physics teacher of Mays High School that did the solar array. Anytime we want him to make a presentation that would fit with his schedule and ours, I'm sure he'd be willing to do that. He was my son's physics teacher.
In terms of future agenda items, Is there any interest from board members in that presentation or discussion?
I have a question. Are you taking public comment on the solar bus thing?
Jasmin, at what point does that matter? Since we're not doing a motion or anything, would this be an appropriate time for that?
Yeah, it's up to you, Jackie, but I think so.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment then. I believe that was Michael I heard. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Michael Almon. And I apologize, my computer doesn't have a camera, so I'd just like to clarify a few things. I think this is a good idea. I had Good Energy Solutions put a solar array on my house this year. I'm very happy with it. And they use SunPower collectors. That's a company with a 25-year warranty. Now, if this goes out to bid, another company might not have a 25-year warranty, but that is available out there. They also told me that it's a 26% tax credit in 2020. That's what I'm going to get this year. So I'm not sure if that, the numbers that they talked about earlier maybe are for institutions, but at least for me, it's 26%. Oh, and on the tax credits, if an individual or maybe agency or city cannot qualify for tax credits, you can sell tax credits. You don't have to sell the solar array, you can just sell the credits. I don't know if that's the same thing for the city of Lawrence, but at least some people make money just buying and selling tax credits. And then, if I may, I'd like to share my screen about this document.
Sure, please go ahead.
Is that, can everybody see that?
No. Oh, now we can.
All right, is it visible now?
Yes.
Hello, I can't hear anybody.
Michael, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Let me check my sound. Am I going on? Okay, now I just corrected my sound. Can people see that map?
Yes.
Okay, that is directly east of the Lawrence Energy Center, like you pointed out earlier. And this building is where Good Energy Solutions showed the collectors would be on the roof. If you go back to the document that you shared earlier, this roof was covered with collectors, which is a logical place to put them. You don't have to take up, additional land. You don't have to be maintaining and mowing the land. Let's put them on the roof. So basically, I just wanted to give you that bit of information to kind of clarify a few things. And so thank you for the opportunity. That's all I have.
Thank you, Michael. Since we're doing public comment, I'm going to keep it open in case there are any other members of the comment on the call who would like to weigh in.
If they are looking at putting it on the roof, this is Deb Ford again, you would just need to make sure the structure can handle the load. Sometimes they aren't built to have the additional loads on the roof, especially if it's a prefab building.
Okay, last call for any additional public comment. Okay, if there are any other comments from the board, or Reed, if you'd like to say anything else at this point, I'll leave it open for a moment for that, and then I think we'll wrap it up and move on.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Michael, thanks for pointing out that in that document that I had, it showed what the address looks like where these would go. It looked very sunny in the photo, so that's good. Jasmin has Clark Cohen's contact information, I believe, so that she has that, and we'd be happy to. Yeah, I think the education is a good angle. When I heard that Baldwin City had this big solar array put in, I thought that might be a nice idea for Lawrence. So in any event, thanks for your interest. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Reed. I know I can't see you, but thanks to you, Clark, also, both of you.
All right, bye-bye.
Let's move to our next item. We have just a few subcommittees right now. We don't have anyone slated, but I do want to leave it open since it's on the agenda, and we don't have any formal subcommittee reports scheduled. But if anyone wants to, any board members supply any subcommittee updates, you are welcome to do that now.
Hi, this is Makokwa. We are still discussing the piece of legislation that the Citizens Climate Lobby put forth to the board a few months back. They would really like our support on this. We as a subcommittee are going to present them some written questions from the subcommittee, but I would encourage the rest of the SAB board, if you had any comments on that previous piece of legislation that they wanted us to look over, to send it to the subcommittee, and we could put that in written question form and then get those answers back. We just, as a subcommittee, and Kay has been on those meetings, and Kira as well, we just had some additional questions regarding that piece of legislation before we can present it to SAB to support as a board. And then we've come up with a timeline for the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. Hopefully we'll have a report soon, a written report for you guys to give you those dates, timelines, and what we have accomplished so far for our goals. But yeah, we're moving quite along.
That's great news. Thank you. Is it okay if members with any questions with the Citizens Climate Lobby bill send them to you, Makokwa?
Send them to me or Kira, or through Jasmin. Jasmin can get them to us too.
Okay, great. Any other subcommittee update information? Okay, Jasmin, I'm going to hand it back over to you then for the staff report.
Thank you. So I attached the staff report to the agenda. There's quite a few things on here, so I'm going to breeze over some and spend more time on others. The first two are related to energy efficiency. We had a Energy Efficiency Day proclamation last week, and the second item is the energy performance contract that the City of Lawrence is entered into, and we have completed year 2 of measurement and verification of the savings that we were guaranteed through those energy efficiency and other improvement projects several years ago. So just wanted to highlight that over the last couple years, we've saved over $1 million just in energy savings. So that's a really great success for that project and towards the energy and greenhouse gas emission goals that the city has. There's a link to a report that gives very detailed information about the last year of how buildings have performed and what improvements were done. So if anybody wants more information about that, that is linked to in the staff report. Wanted to highlight that there is an electronic recycling event planned for Saturday, October 24th. It's been a couple years since we've hosted an event in the city, and so wanted to let everybody know in Douglas County that they are welcome to come and bring anything that has a cord or takes batteries that will be out there accepting that. So we've partnered with a hauler to take that, the electronics. Most everything is free of charge to drop off. There is a charge for those large TV monitors, the cathode ray monitors. So there is a small charge for that. But we do have a sponsor that stepped forward to help offset the costs of that for a limited amount of people. So I put the link to more information in the staff report, and that link also has information about that sponsorship. So if you know of anybody that has some of those large monitors that's ready to get rid of them but doesn't want to pay for it, then we do have that opportunity this year. Okay, so now diving into some of the policy stuff. So I wanted to highlight the policy priority that you all had in terms of integrating sustainability into policy decisions. The City of Lawrence strategic plan is close to being wrapped up and finalized. The City Commission had a report on the strategic plan yesterday, and that included 6 commitments and 5 strategic outcomes. And the commitments are something that's fairly new for the City of Lawrence, and those are really intended to drive everything that we do in our work. And so we are committed to community engagement, efficient and effective processes, equity and inclusion, sound fiscal stewardship, engaged and empowered teams, and environmental sustainability. And those core commitments are intended to shape everything that we do, from buying a stapler to the decisions that come before the City Commission at their meetings. So this is a big deal. I know that I've been talking about this for it feels like the whole year, but just wanted to celebrate that environmental sustainability and equity are core components of this new strategic plan, and this will drive budget decisions, and it will drive staff resources, and it will drive what we as staff spend our time on. So this is as this is adopted by the City Commission, hopefully by next month, then we will be working on developing some key performance indicators for what success looks like and how we can benchmark our progress towards this. And also I see a chat. Okay. And also how we embed this in the culture of our organization. So we know that sustainability is more than just the environment, and so I just wanted to highlight that both environmental sustainability and equity are core components, as well as fiscal stewardship. So really the 3 pillars of sustainability have great representation in this new strategic plan. So there's a full staff report that's linked within my staff report. So if you'd like information about what those outcomes are, what we mean when we say equity and inclusion or fiscal stewardship, there's a link to more information there. I want to pause there and see if there are any questions about that item. Okay. So I will go next to the next policy update, a continuation of this idea of integrating sustainability into policy decisions, which is the City of Lawrence is currently developing an economic development strategic plan. So this is intended to really look to the next 3 to 5 years and how we in Lawrence are thinking about economic development and investment and advancement, knowing that COVID-19 is going to affect what that looks like. and think about how we can create an action plan for increasing economic growth and prosperity for the city of Lawrence. So there has been a team working on this plan, and phase one, which was really looking at understanding the current situation, is wrapping up now, and there's going to be going into phase two, which will have another opportunity for public input. The phase one report is linked in the staff report, and it looks at some observations. And to get this information, they've researched just general economic data, as well as did several focus groups and had other opportunities for people to participate in conversations and through surveys. So wanted to highlight that economic development is pretty holistic in the way that this report is looking at it and this plan is looking at it. So it's not just about, you know, how many businesses are new and coming in each year. It's really looking at what are the factors within our community that support economic growth and prosperity, from transportation to the natural environment, to affordable housing. So this is a much more comprehensive view than, you know, you may traditionally think of as economic development. In this economic overview report, it does highlight how the way that they framed it is natural environment was identified as one component of economic development, and I put some content in there directly from that report. So they're already thinking about natural environment specifically as they develop this next phase of the plan. There is going to be, like I said, some opportunity for public engagement and public input. I had a request to put the report on the screen, so I'll do that. But that was pretty much it for the wrap up of that economic strategic plan. Just to note that keep an eye out for those opportunities for public engagement and thinking about what your values are and what your policy priorities are. So I will share my screen as well so that you all can see this at the same time. Okay, are you seeing the staff report? I will scroll down to the economic development piece, and I will pause there to see if there are comments around that economic development strategic plan. Okay, I lost my chat, so I'm gonna just look and see if there's anybody in the chat.
She says maybe just share on one monitor so we can see the other page.
Okay.
I don't know if you can actually do that.
I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Okay.
It's a good idea, though.
Okay. Is it that I can't see the chat if I'm sharing, Kurt?
Yes.
Okay.
You can type the little chat bubble at the bottom where it says chat, and maybe you can see it, but can you not see that anymore?
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So I will move on to another policy priority update. food waste was one of the things that you all prioritized, and wanted to let you know that Douglas County received a grant for food reduction or food waste reduction. And so the Sustainability Office will be receiving that grant and hiring someone to help us facilitate a partnership and a pilot program between Just Food, our community food bank resource, and our compost facility at the city of Lawrence. And so we're going to be testing out how it might look to take their food waste and integrate it into our city compost pile. So that's a really exciting development. And another component of that grant is to figure out how we can best support gleaning for our local farms here in Douglas County, so that we can capture the food that's still edible but may not look perfect. So you may have heard of like the ugly food movement, so that we can get that food that's still edible and perfectly fine to people who need it. So we are in the process of working with the feds on getting that money, and then we will start advertising for that position. So that's some progress on our food waste recovery. And then another policy update, single-use disposable bags. I know that you all have been anxiously awaiting for updates on this. We have a ordinance that's pretty much ready to go, and so we anticipate that this will be on the November agenda for the City Commission. And so I just included some of the highlights or the key elements of that ordinance in the staff report as well. I think you will see yourselves reflected in there, as well as the public comment that was received during that time. And then finally, the policy update on the climate action and adaptation plan schedule. Makokwa referred to this earlier. We have shifted our schedule from what we originally planned earlier in the year. We are doing data collection and analysis and working with the Kansas City Climate Initiative and partnering on data with them. But our public engagement is slated to start in early 2021. So that is the staff update. I am available for questions if anyone has questions. Okay. Jackie, I don't know if you can see the chat. There is a question about public comment or questions from the public.
Sure, let's take public comment. Dawn, I saw your chat. Go ahead. And I'm not sure if you're on the phone or on your computer audio, but you're still muted. But you can,
I'm going to try to unmute you from here and see if that works. Oh,
okay.
Looks like we both tried to do that at the same time. Try that, Dawn.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but I just was wondering if it's possible to provide public input to this conversation prior to 2021, because it's so important. It just seems like, or how can citizens get more informed about what's going on right now, instead of waiting for, I don't know. It just seems like it would be a good time to get as much of the public involved in the early part of the conversation. And I imagine it's a lot of work you guys are undergoing, and thank you. But just wondering if there's any suggestions for how to provide input prior to this official public input launch. Thank you.
So this is Jasmin. We're in the process of developing a like an online presence, so kind of a hub for everything that you would need to know around the climate action and adaptation plan. And so that we're getting some help with that right now. So at this time, we don't have anything formal set up. If you have thoughts or comments, you're welcome to email me. And we can, make sure to bring that in as we go along. But right now we're just working on developing that public-facing presence online so that we can, direct people and start to develop ways to start to collect that information.
Any other public comment on the staff report or any other comments or questions from board members?
I have one regarding the plastics issue. Are there any issues that we need to be prepared to answer questions about as that ordinance comes up, or have they all been fairly researched? And are we comfortable that there aren't any outstanding issues with that?
Michael, this is Jasmin. I think the new line of questioning or comments will come with the relation to COVID and reactions to COVID and single-use plastics. I do have a staff report that's going to accompany the ordinance that will include a summary of the public comments, as well as some information about what other cities, states, communities have done in the wake of COVID. And part of that is that some of them early on put a hold on any restrictions on plastic bags, and then within a couple months, they lifted those restrictions as more information about how coronavirus was spread became more available. So that's the one thing that I anticipate will be a new component of the conversation, different than previous.
Okay, good to know. The lion's share of spread is person to person, not material to person. So I'll do some research and be prepared to answer that question should it arise. Thank you.
All right, last call for questions or comments on staff report.
As a member of the public, I'd like to make some comments.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, this is Michael Almon again. Speaking for myself, you mentioned earlier that, or Jasmin did, that the legal department has pretty much finished writing the ordinance, not knowing what's in that final draft. I'm curious if it's going to reflect fairly closely or not at all what the Sustainability Advisory Board had recommended. That I myself have a perspective on one part of that, which is I recall when the fee is collected at a grocery store, it goes into a fund for environmental remediation and whatever things of that sort. My personal preference, and I'm not sure if you or anybody at this point can change it, would be that the fee go to the grocery store itself. And the reason I say that is that they could use that money to subsidize their purchasing and providing reusable bags. It would give the grocery store more of an incentive. They could either opt into that and collect that fee and reduce the customer charge for the bags, or they could have a choice to opt out of it and then the fee could go to the environmental cleanup fund or whatever it would be. So it could go either way. The grocery stores won't incur any more additional costs. They're already buying single-use bags now, so they would collect a fee and be able to sell the reusable bags more competitively, which in effect would make the reusable bags more attractive, more affordable, particularly for lower income people, and more likely to be used, which is the whole point of the program. And then finally, and the grocery stores most likely would want to do this, they could put their logo on all the reusable bags. You know, it's just free publicity. And then anybody carrying that bag to another grocery store or anywhere else in town, they're advertising that store that sold them the bag. So I think having the fee go to the grocery store would put a little more emphasis on making the program affordable and accessible to people to buy those bags, and more incentive for the grocery store to want to do it. It's just kind of a way to tweak capitalism, so to speak, you know, with the, you know, with an incentive. So like I said, I don't know if at this point that can be even introduced, but it could be an opt-in or an opt-out kind of thing for a grocery store. Thank you.
This is Jasmin. I wanted to respond to that and then note the time. There is a 7 o'clock meeting, so this will have a hard stop at 7 for the next public meeting. The ordinance key components are listed in the staff report, and one of those is that the establishments will retain 100% of that fee. So so you can read a little bit more there, but I just wanted to highlight that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
All right, any other comment or question on staff report items? All right, I have a single item so far for our future agenda items, and that is involuntary trash. I don't believe I was at the meeting that was brought up. So I'm not sure if the intent was just to have a discussion amongst board members, or if it was to invite someone to discuss on the topic, or to invite staff to see what could be done at a city level on that. So first, I'd like to get input on how board members would like to go about that discussion.
Just as a reminder, the involuntary trash is in reference to things that you don't even have a choice about getting or not. And so an example was, you know, the plastic bag around the newspaper that's thrown in your lawn, or things like that. So so that was part of the discussion around what involuntary trash is.
I brought it up as a discussion point for the board. I don't have any recommendations or anybody to bring to talk about it. I just thought it's kind of silly that we get these things thrown in our yard without our consent.
Okay, perhaps that should be a discussion amongst board members for our next meeting then. Does that sound appropriate for you, Michael? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so let's include that on our next agenda, and let's leave it open now. Does anybody have future agenda items that they'd like to add to our list?
Hey, this is Kira. Can you hear me?
I can, go ahead.
I thought we were going to talk about my Green New Deal proposal tonight, but can we make sure that it's on the agenda for the next meeting?
I had not heard that, but yes, let's do that as well.
I want the board to endorse the Green New Deal. It would be a really, really good framework for the economic plan. It would be a good framework to implement at least a little bit in with the climate crisis plan. And the local group, it would really give them a morale booster. They're very demoralized. The kids are really exhausted and worn out. And as everybody probably knows, maybe knows, I hope, they have been incredibly effective in the work they've done. And I feel like we need to do not just more collaboration with them, but we need to formally endorse the Green New Deal. I have documents, I have links, I have all kinds of stuff that I can aggregate and start sending out to you to send to everybody.
Okay, that sounds great. We'll have our discussion on that next month as well then, it sounds like.
All right, cool.
Just 5 minutes left and only public comment left. So if there is any other public comment, I will leave it open at this time for that.
I have a couple of items just to pass on. And I was really pleased that Orozco was announced as being the EPA Partner of the Year award for the EPA Safer Choice. And my company works very hard to make sure our products are through the EPA Safer Choice program. So they only gave out 15 for the whole United States. So I was happy about that. And then we also put forth information about the Energy Efficiency Day, and we worked with USGBC and they did it as well. So our social media reflected a lot of the energy efficiency. So thank you, Jasmin, for having the City of Lawrence do it. Governor Kelly also did the same thing for the state of Kansas. And it's helpful since we're ranked as 46th or 47th in the United States for energy efficiency. So anything that we can do is helpful. That's all I have.
Thanks, Kay. And I made a mistake. I did skip over member updates, so we'll leave it open to that too. If any other members have anything else they want to say in our last 3 or 4 minutes here.
I have something real quick. Out at the Mutt Run, on their bulletin board, they have a sign that says the Lawrence City Commission is voting on the youth sports complex exit the 27th Street extension by Tuesday, October 20th. They need comments from people whether or not to save the Mutt Run. And not only do I want the Mutt Run saved, I don't want the sports complex expanded because we need that area to act as a heat sink and a carbon sink. We need to save all of our wildlands for biodiversity, and especially during the pandemic, we need a place where people can safely go outside and, and especially in a place where people don't have to pay for anything. It's very egalitarian. So everybody, if you can, please go on the city site before October 20th and make sure that you vote to save the Mutt Run. And then I just also wanted to remind everybody that early voting started today. I mean, for actual, for the presidential thing, not for the Mutt Run.
Thank you, Kira. Any further comments from members or boards? We're just going to wrap it all up into one. We've got just a couple minutes.
I have a really, really quick thing.
Okay.
Okay. So this is somewhat adjacently related, but really quick, I just wanted to thank Makakwa really quick because she spoke at my school and it was awesome about Indigenous Peoples Day and I learned a lot. And I also just wanted to bring that up because I didn't, we didn't really discuss it in this meeting, but I think it's really important, as a board, that we talk about, Indigenous related causes, especially since that's super important to what we're doing. So I just wanted to bring that up and also recognize Indigenous Peoples Day and thank Makakwa. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Morgan and Makakwa.
Thank you, Morgan. My friend Sonia Zarnecki that I work with at the League of Women Voters invited me to do a presentation on Indigenous Peoples Day. So yeah, thank you. And thanks for bringing that up. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. With that, I will wrap it up. Thank you so much. I'll see you next month.